I'm done running.
Hey, welcome back, ScreenCrush. I'm Harriet. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is amazing, and it features the best action scene in any Guardians movie and one of the best action scenes in the whole MCU, the hallway fight. We're going to break down this hallway fight frame by frame to show you these insane details that you missed. But also, I'm going to talk about why Gunn chose for this to be a one-take hallway fight, and how this whole sequence works so well because it is built around the characters. And we're also going to briefly talk about the history of hallway fights and one-take action scenes to really give you some context for how this fight was put together. See, hallway fights inherently work because they compress all of the action into a narrow space. The rules are simple. I am here, I want to go there. Hallway fights force the heroes into a fight or flight situation where they have to overcome overwhelming odds to achieve a straightforward goal to get to the end of the hallway. Now, I always thought that they were partially inspired by side-scroll gaming, which presents the characters with one option to move forward. I mean, hell, Star Wars opens with a hallway fight. Terminator 2 also featured a kind of hallway fight with Sarah and John running away from the T-1000 and being rescued by Arnold.
Hey, you just inspired me. I'm gonna quit this job and write a screenplay. Or wait, a novel. Yes, a novel.
Oh, what's it gonna be about?
No idea. Now quiet, person. I am writing.
Alright, good luck with that. Now, back to what I was saying. In the 21st century, hallway fights have become a showcase of choreography, both fight choreography and camera and visual effects choreography. I mean, the best sequences in any fight scene or in any dance scene turn the camera into an indispensable member of the action, especially if you're going to pull off a one-take action sequence. Now, most people point to the film Oldboy's side-scrolling one-take hallway fight as the inspiration for this modern obsession with the format. Now, this is a masterclass of one-take action choreography, and since then, we've seen an explosion of hallway fights. The Indonesian martial arts film Raid, Inception, and by the way, Inception was even more tricky because that hallway was actually spinning around. Now, I think overall, there's two kinds of hallway fights. There's the monster at the door, like in Terminator 2, or really any horror movie where the last girl is trying to get out of the house. Darth Vader in Rogue One is a perfect example of a monster at the door hallway fight, except in this case, let's face it, we were all kind of rooting for the monster, right?
If you like pina coladas.
But the other kind of hallway fight is more like Oldboy. It's the lone hero against overwhelming odds. Now, this of course is a mainstay in martial arts cinema, but in most martial arts movies, usually we wonder why the bad guys are waiting to attack the heroes one at a time instead of rushing them all at once. Hallway fights answer that question. They give the heroes a chance to funnel the overwhelming odds into a manageable number.
Like in 300?
Like in 300, high five. Hey Doug, how's the novel coming?
Great.
Hey, you want to read me what you have so far? Oh, that's it? Oh my God, what's going on? Do you have writer's block?
Yeah, I have no idea what to say. It's like I have no mouth, and yet I must scream.
Okay, well, let's try out this app. It's called Wonder. What you do is you hit I need inspiration, and then you get a prompt. For instance, this one says, alluring, highly detailed close-up of a portrait of a beautiful elf girl with red hair, wearing a fantasy outfit, very realistic. And look, here she is.
Oh, but could it be a dog instead?
Yeah, sure. Look, here.
Yeah, see, that's great. Now I can write my opus. What was that app called again?
Oh, dude, it's called Wonder, and it's so much fun, and they're the sponsor of this video. It's an AI art app that can create stunning artwork with a few simple prompts. You pick an adjective, a noun, and a style, like Professor Panda teaching class, and look, there you go. I use the premium version, which includes more than 20 styles, processes the art way faster, and has unlimited art with no ads. It's also like a great app to bring an idea to life. Like for instance, here's Doug, drawn by Vincent van Gogh.
Oh, I like that.
Thought you would. Now the inspiration button is a lot of fun. Comes up with these random things to give you ideas. For instance, all right, here. Teddy bear swimming at the Olympics 400-meter event. Oh, look, super weird and creepy. I also would like to see that one as a watercolor, and there it is. Very cool. Now, if you click our link in the description, you can download Wonder and get a free trial of the premium version, which again is totally worth the money and a lot of fun. Now, I want to quickly shout out our old friend Heavy Spoilers, who also has released a breakdown of the hallway fight, where he also goes into detail about the state of the MCU and also where he makes a lot of bad puns. The video is definitely worth a watch. When you get done with this video, go check it out. Now, back to hallway fights. And these days, when I say hallway fight, most people immediately think of this. And that fight was amazing. Matt arrives at the building on death's door to rescue a kidnapped child, and camera trickery made this seem like it was one continuous shot. Not for nothing though, the first MCU hallway fight was actually in Iron Man 2, but like Daredevil blew it away. Iron Man 2 was filled with these quick cuts and whip pans and things, but in Daredevil, the camera stayed on the action the entire time. And later the show would replicate this trick with the stair fight and Frank Castle's prison fight in later seasons. So I want to highlight this because hallway fights are even more impressive when they're in one shot. I mean look, long takes are nothing new. You can find incredible one-take shots in Children of Men, Goodfellas, hell, Bonfire of the Vanities, and of course, the masterful funeral shot in Soy Cuba. And of course, there are entire movies filmed as one shot, like Hitchcock's Rope, Russian Ark, Birdman, and 1917. And I think all of them, except for the experimental film Timecode, use some camera or digital trickery to mask the cuts. But a one-take action scene is actually a masterclass in filmmaking. Choreographing a complicated fight scene is really hard, but combining that with a one-take shot is near impossible.
Yeah, but isn't this like all done with CGI?
Yes, and that's the thing. So 1917 filled with CGI transitions, obviously not actually filled with one shot. And of course the one-take shot at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, it's all done within a computer. See, things like True Detective's 6-minute long tracking shot are way harder to pull off for obvious reasons. But Guardians 3 crammed a level of detail into this one hallway fight that is going to blow your mind. So let's set the stage for where we are in this movie. Because the only reason this fight actually works so well is because, like everything else in this movie, this fight is in service to the characters. So as soon as the Guardians leave the house of the Bat Lady on Counter-Earth, they are divided up for most of the rest of the movie. Peter, Groot, and Nebula go to the pyramid while the rest of the team stays with Rocket, and then they mostly switch places later on. The point is, we don't get to see them together in a room for about half the movie. Plus, Rocket is unconscious for most of the movie, so we haven't seen a single scene yet in the entire film where all the Guardians are actually in the same place and fully conscious. So Peter, Gamora, and Groot have just saved Rocket's life, while Nebula, Drax, and Mantis are trapped on the High Evolutionary ship. So as soon as Peter lands the Bowie inside of the High Evolutionary ship, their only goal is to find their friends and get out. The sequence begins with the close-up on Peter's Zune as he puts on the Beastie Boys' No Sleep Till Brooklyn. Now at first, this is just like his pump-up music, like he's ready to fight. Then they see that Mantis and the others have tamed the Obelisk, and the whole team is ready to retreat and go back to nowhere until Nebula and Mantis tell them that there are kids and other life forms trapped in the High Evolutionary ship. Now, during this whole conversation, the song is kind of muted because the Guardians are deliberating on whether or not they should go back. They're conflicted. Like Gamora, who's not a team player at all, insists that they go save themselves. But Rocket looks back at the cages and flashes back to his life. He says,
I'm done running.
And then he's the first one to turn back. It is at this very moment that Rocket became the leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And then the volume of the song is raised. So the song begins as diegetic, that is, music that takes place within the movie that the characters can hear. In this case, it's on Peter's Zune.
Come and get your love.
But then, when the action starts, it becomes non-diegetic, so the volume is amped up. There is also a possibility that the music was playing over their comm links, like the music when they landed on the Orgoscope. Now, this song is a perfect choice. It is about the Beastie Boys being on tour away from their hometown of Brooklyn. The song is saying that while they're on tour, they're going to party, perform, and give everything they have and leave it all on the floor, and they're not going to rest till they get home in Brooklyn. The song is about a group of artists working together at the peak of their skills, and that same unifying spirit is seen with the Guardians in this fight. The fight serves the same function as the one-take shot in the Avengers. It shows a group of people fighting together as a team for the first time in the movie. So the Guardians turn one at a time to go follow Rocket, no words necessary, because when one of them goes, the rest of them go with them. And Gamora reluctantly goes with them too. Now we have to say, it's not out of the goodness of her heart. She's going with them because they're her ride, and if they go down, she goes down too. And I really loved that she didn't have a change of heart here, like the old Gamora would have. This shows that this Gamora is her own person. This also services one of the themes of the movie, that the Guardians need to reconcile with their past traumas and face the past so they can move on. Now there are several cuts during this slow motion walk, which I always kind of feel like is inspired by Kill Bill. Slow motion walks have an important history to the Guardians because after they first agreed to give a shit and fight Ronan, their unity was expressed in a slow motion walk.
Wait, this movie opened with a slow motion walk.
Yes, this movie did open with a slow motion walk for the title sequence, but that was with Peter being unconscious. That was showing that actually the Guardians were still a little broken and a little disunified. Whereas this shot is all the Guardians finally walking together. Now, let's break down this amazing fight frame by frame. Drax opens the doors just as the hook of the song hits. We start over his shoulders so we can see exactly what we are up against. Now notice I say we because the camera is part of the action as well. We are part of the Guardians team at this point. It's also why we can understand Groot when he says, "I love you guys" at the end of the movie. Then we cut to an overhead shot of the back end of the hallway to show how many monsters and guys they have to fight. And this also gives us the lay of the land. Notice there's also two side junctions that people will be entering through during this melee. So as the camera descends, sense. We begin the one-take shot. Rocket is taking point, flanked by Groot and Drax. Now this makes sense because Rocket is the leader and Groot and Drax are like melee, close quarters fighters. Nebula and Peter have blasters, so they hang back. And Gamora doesn't exactly charge ahead because she's looking out for herself and wants to make sure that she survives this fight. Mantis, another melee fighter, leaps forward, kicking this officer. Then she does a barrel roll in mid-air and nails a superhero landing.
Superhero landing!
Now, as she lands, Rocket shoots this monster that was just about to kill her. His second shot kills the monster and it falls into the camera, dripping slime onto the lens and masking a cut. At least I think it's masking a cut. I really don't know how much of this works with CGI. Anytime I watch like a visual effects scene where like actors are going around on green screen like this, like that one with the Flash and Henry Cavill, it always amazes me. It's incredible. The visual effects in this movie are fantastic. So then we are on the POV of Groot's arm as it grows, takes out two guys, and then fires into the mouth of this monster. Meanwhile, the officers have rushed past the camera, so we understand that, hey, there's more action taking place back there. So this is Groot taking out the heavy hitters to clear a path for everyone else. And then we see his branches burst from the guts of this monster as it writhes around for the rest of the fight, suffering. And then the camera pulls back to show Gamora with her sword taking out the leg of the monster that Groot is abusing, and in the same strike, she takes out this enemy. Now right here we see Drax shoulder check a guy out of frame as Nebula enters the shot to kill an officer with her arm gun. Now note, the static energy here usually means that this is a stun shot.
There's one, set for stun.
In the background, Groot is still choking this thing while Mantis swings from his arm like a pair of monkey bars. She does the Black Widow head choke to this guy and then uses her momentum to throw herself forward and then throw this guy into Groot's arm. And presumably, he lands on his head out of frame and snaps his neck.
Oh my god, are you okay?
I don't know. What does it look like? What do I do? What is that?
Another monster lunges at Groot, so he hits it with his left arm while Rocket jumps on its back to give it the kill shot to the spine. And then Rocket leaps from its back onto Groot's shoulder, recreating the classic scene from Guardians 1.
Oh, yeah.
And look, I know we're using still frames, but all through the fight, the editing speed ramps to showcase certain characters and to give them their own badass hero shots. Everybody gets a moment to shine. So we stay with Rocket as he hops across Groot's arms where we can get a good look at the rest of the team. Drax on the left fighting a guy, Nebula in the center, and Gamora to the right. Nebula drives ahead here because she's probably the most invincible. After all, earlier she took Kraglin's arrow straight to the heart. So then she starts firing at people who are coming out of both junctions of the hallway. Then Groot dramatically flicks Rocket up into the air, and we get to see Rocket high above the melee, smiling as he gets his little spinny matrix shot. So now he's much further up the hallway, closer to where Nebula is at the center. For a second, the camera slides forward to see a monster being shot as it slingshots back through the monster's guts to focus on Star-Lord, who was the guy who probably shot it. Then there's a brief whip pan to show the guy that Star-Lord just shot before we focus on Peter to get his moment in the fight. In the background, notice this guy trips and Groot grabs him by the ankles to pile drive him, and it's almost like the guy's like begging him to stop. Meanwhile, Mantis is choke holding another guy back here. So then Peter starts chucking these stun discs, which at first have no effect. He puts one on this guy's butthole, hurls a disc onto another person as the camera whip pans, but then it whip pans again to follow a spider monster attacking Peter. So he ducks under its blade, does a roll, and then almost gets clotheslined by Nebula, who is shooting the guy who's coming up behind him. And notice this look on Peter's face. He's saying like, oh shit, that was a close one, man. And then Nebula takes out another guy who's jumping straight at them. Now after this, 4 guys start to charge toward Peter and Nebula, and then we slow down to show Peter's hand in the foreground as he detonates the stun charge. Notice this guy in the background who had a stun charge put on his butt and how he's reacting to that. Also notice Groot in the background picking up a monster and swinging it around. Then Nebula shoves Peter by the neck out of the way to attack a monster that was behind him. Again, she's a heavy hitter, so she can take a stronger hit from this thing, while Peter just goes back to blast away at different monsters. Now Nebula gets her moment as one monster pins her nanotech arm, snapping the wires, and then the other monster knocks her shoulder out of joint, windmilling it up in the air. So at this point, she's so distracted she doesn't notice the other monster hitting her so hard it literally breaks her neck. But she keeps going.
Yeah, say what you will about Thanos, but that is some strong craftsmanship.
It sure is. But then we wrap around and we see that she is still fighting with her head kind of flopping around. As she reassembles herself, Groot takes out the monster on her right as the camera rotates and she shocks the other monster with her arm. Then the camera tilts up to show Drax's boot landing on a monster and hitting its body as he slides across the floor on its guts. He pulls a knife from his boot, hits this guy so hard he goes up to the ceiling, where then he holds on for dear life just to keep out of this fight. Then this monster hits Drax in the back, but Drax just barely feels it. So he throws it against the wall and then throws a knife into this guy's leg. The guy finally starts to fall, but he hangs there for the rest of the fight, pinned by Drax's knife. And then Blurp does this parkour move right off of him.
Parkour! Get off! Get off! Okay.
That's awesome. Love that parkour move.
Me too, buddy. And by the way, everybody, shop our merch store where you can get this Doug Oh Yeah tee in the style of Rocket Raccoon.
Oh, can I have one?
No. Shopping our merch store is a great way to support our channel, and we have lots of fun tees like Somehow Palpatine Return, Doug Wizard, Doug the Foundling, and Original Trilogy. Check out our link in the description below to get yours today. And then Drax uses his leg to break the arm off of this monster and hurls the arm at this other monster, killing it and pinning it against the wall for the remainder of the fight. The camera whip pans again to show Drax body slamming a monster, like old times for Dave Bautista, and then he reaches down out of frame and pulls out its internal organs. Or maybe he pulled out its spine, following up on this line.
What if someone does something irksome and I decide to remove his spine?
And then the camera moves toward Gamora for our final fight of the sequence. Now, unlike the other Guardians, Gamora is in her fight all alone. She doesn't know these people and she's never even sparred with them. So she's been hanging back and taking this fight one monster at a time. And by the way, notice this guy that Drax pinned to the wall with his knife? He's still there. Then the camera whip pans to reveal the biggest monster yet, this Lovecraftian monstrosity that Gamora has to face alone. It tosses her against the wall, but then one of its tentacles gets stuck, so Gamora cuts off another one of its limbs. Also, in the background, Drax is just kind of bashing this guy's head against a wall while Rocket is choke holding some other guy. So then Gamora slices the Lovecraft monster's knees and weakens it, so it actually takes a step back so it can fire at her from a distance. Notice that she starts like she's going to go in high to draw his shot before she comes down low for the kill. She barrel rolls to give her slice enough momentum to cut this thing in half completely. And then Blurp jumps up to be like, hey guys, what did I miss?
Yeah, man, he's so happy.
He sure is. Now what makes this fight so beautiful is the carnage and the gooey monster bloodshed, but it's also an expression of where the Guardians are at this moment. For the first time in ages, they're united with a singular purpose. For them, this fight is personal. This is for Rocket. This is against the guy who harmed Rocket. And this is the last fight this original team is ever going to have together, and it's absolutely one of the all-time greatest.
Magnificent! Magnificent!
It's perfectly choreographed, shows their unity as characters and as a fighting unit, and I really can't think of a better way to say goodbye to this team. Hey Doug, by the way, how's your novel coming?
Doing great, thanks to Wonder.
Very cool. And just a reminder, everyone, to create a really fun AI art or make an avatar of yourself, download Wonder with our link in the description and try out the premium version for free. But we want to know what you guys think of all this. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.